Mr. Avila has been recognized for excellence in law enforcement by the ICE Hispanic Agents Association and has received the Director's Award for Operation in Plain Sight in Mexico, Homeland Security Investigations Excellence in Public Service Award, the Valor Award by the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, and many other awards. He is an advocate for border security, immigration reform, human trafficking awareness, and the protection of our sovereignty, our American sovereignty, each and every one of us as Americans, no matter what we look like. He's also been featured on Fox News, I-24 News, Univision, OANN, and various radio and podcast interviews. At this time, I'd like to call up Victor Avila.
Thank you so much. Clemens, that's an incredible introduction. Thank you very much for doing that. Because of what we're going to talk about today, oh, thank you, baby. Let me move you over here. So you could just switch it for me. I usually do a presentation. I go around the country speaking, sharing the experience that I went through in Mexico, and I do a big presentation about a little bit about my background and my assignment in Mexico. When it's a police group that I speak to, a police conference, I go into detail because of the police tactics and all that. But also, lately, that presentation has turned into mostly important of the aftermath. Because what I call the aftermath, and it's something that my family and I were failed by the Obama-Biden administration. 2 of the weapons used against us that killed Agent Zapata were Fast and Furious weapons. And so, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't even know that an agent was killed in line of duty in 2011. So, I'm not gonna share a lot about that today, but that's what we went through 11 years ago. If you're so kind to grab a copy and buy a copy of my book, you'll get the raw story of what we went through, especially with my family, my wife and my kids, and what we went through. It was very, very, very dark days back then. And then you add on top the failure of the government and starts treating you like you were the one that did something wrong. And it's not a good feeling. So I've experienced many ways through the government, but that didn't keep me down. The reason why I'm here, first of all, by the grace of God. And second, because I felt as a survivor, I had a purpose to do something. I felt into this identity crisis because I've been a law enforcement officer since I was the age of 22. And all of a sudden, you're not that. So what do you do? I ended up basically forced to take a medical retirement back in 2015. And so kind of had to reinvent myself. I didn't know what I was gonna do. My agency didn't want me back. And I was kind of the last one to figure that out. But I figured, okay, there's gotta be something. So I wrote the book. They did a documentary. I was very wanting to get the word out because they kept me quiet for many years. They were very successful at not letting me do any media and all that. And that's kind of what I did. I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do media, I'm gonna write a book, and I'm gonna be vocal about it. And what you're gonna hear me say today is unfiltered. This is the way I speak when I go speak to any group. Of course, I know the audiences that I speak to. And sometimes I just came back from South Dakota, and it was the whole state of South Dakota's municipal league. The municipal employees, because I'm a firm believer in local politics. I love local politics because politics goes up, not down. It's the other way around. What you do locally is what you are gonna have the biggest impact. And so I am gonna get political, because I am political. Just a few years ago, Republicans, I think, were very shy. Oh, we can't be political. But the left has been political all their lives. It's time to get political. I'm not shy about my belief system as a conservative American. Yes, I'm Hispanic, can you tell? But I was born in this country, in this great state of Texas. And that doesn't mean that I ignore my heritage. yeah, I accept Mexico and my heritage and my culture, that's great. But I'm from here, and this is my country, and I'm here to defend it, and this is the best way that I can do now. And I'll share a little bit more of the things that we're doing. So this is basically, I'm gonna give you, go ahead baby, next one. I'm gonna give you what I did from March of 2021, when all this stuff started happening at the border, like what the heck is going on? What in the world? So I go down to McAllen. It started in McAllen, if you remember. They started gathering under the bridge there. I go down there, I contact the people I know, my contacts, I go down there, I talk to the border agents. They were very apprehensive at that time. They were gag ordered about the media, remember that? They couldn't talk to anybody. It helped that I'm a retired agent. I talked to them, I said, I just wanna know what's going on, what's the process here? Well, while I was actually doing that, about 400 illegal aliens were under that bridge. They had just walked back then, right there in that area in McAllen's about a 2-mile walk. If you recall, it was a kind of a pathway, dirt pathway, which a lot of people thought it was a direct, the border is very unique. The border is not a straight line, and it's not a straight wall. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. In this case, it's a 2-mile walk like this. And the aliens were getting lost, so they started putting up signages. Take a left, take a right, to turn yourself into Border Patrol. And they were gathering them, and I said, okay, so what's gonna happen with these people? What's the process? Well, they're gonna get on the bus. They're gonna get on the bus, and we're gonna take them to downtown McAllen, Texas, and they're gonna drop them off. And I'm like, wait, what happened to the processing? No. To Catholic Charities, you've heard that name before. Oh, the NGO. So the bus station is literally across the street from Catholic Charities. I follow that bus. Let's go see. So I go downtown. I get into Catholic Charities. Well, I used to be an agent. I used to work a little bit, and I know how to talk to people. And there was this 23-year-old kid that had gotten COVID 3 times. And I convinced them to let me in because they're super secretive. And I got in, and let me tell you, highly organized. It looked like a Walmart in there. Toiletry section, food section, bathroom, showers, clothing, and then you come out with this famous yellow envelope that you guys have seen with money, letters, and then bus ticket or airline ticket. That was March. I'm kind of giving you what's kind of been happening. And so with COVID, there was some testing, there was no testing. Then the unaccompanied children happened, right? What do we do with these kids? This is the big Ghana facility that was overrun. So I went into Ghana facility. I wasn't able to get in all the way, but I was inside the compound. And it was, I mean, buses and movement, and you're like, what's going on? Well, some were being processed and then released. Catch and release, to every part of our country. And it took me a while to realize that, wait a minute, there's no enforcement of any kind anymore here. Lawlessness, which continues to this day. I just got back 10 days ago from Eagle Pass, and it's worse. So that's, then Del Rio. Then it shifted McAllen to Del Rio. Remember that? Del Rio, so it's 30,000 people. That's the bus station in Del Rio, which is a Stripes convenience store. And that's where they started ordering more Greyhound buses to come pick them up. And so you have a lot of people from a bunch of different countries. And that's another thing that's shifted, and I'll explain what's going on. Here you're having everybody, a lot of Haitians, Cubans, Mexicans, Central Americans, a mixture of a lot of people. This is a Fox News clip, and the reason why I like this picture is because I'm a law and order guy. This last time that I was standing in Eagle Pass, I just flat out felt disrespected. Why are 150 different countries disrespecting our laws, our sovereignty? They're slapping us in the face. And it doesn't feel good. It really doesn't, because if you see in this picture, we've got Border Patrol, troopers, National Guard, sheriff, Well, great. It's great having all that law enforcement. And before I go any further, everyone in this room is going to vote for Governor Abbott. Okay? Before I go any further, we're going to vote for Governor Abbott, and he's going to go in there, and I got other issues with him, but we're going to vote for him. We're going to put him in office, and then we'll deal with him about that. But before I go any further, so go ahead and play this, because what good does it do? This is the old Bush Wall in Avila, Texas, and they opened the gates, and eventually let us. You can go to the next one. You just click next, the next video, and it'll play. Should play, if not you can stop the video. So you have Border Patrol, you have National Guard, you have the Sheriff, you have Texas DPS troopers. This is I don't understand it. Why? You can go next. Single adult males, by the way.
Yes.
Where? Why? The question is, why is this happening? It's obviously deliberate by this administration. They want this to happen. There's no enforcement of any kind. There's no prosecution. That is illegal. That is 8 U.S.C. 1325, illegal entry into the country. I used to work those cases as an agent. The other ones is 8 U.S.C. 1324, human smuggling, which I'm going to show you about. It's a lot of human smuggling going on. And of course, what's close and dear to my heart is human trafficking, because that's my subject matter expertise. I rescued many women and children from human trafficking conditions in New York, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles. And I put a human trafficking case, one of the worst ones that I worked, an example in the book, because people still say, what, does that happen? Human trafficking, child trafficking? That's a conspiracy theory. I can't get the images out of my head. And I'm not even gonna share some of the things that I've seen, what a human being is capable to do to another, especially a child. You wouldn't imagine it. I don't want you to imagine it. That's why I won't share that. But I did put an example in there that's a little graphic, just to kind of have people shaken and say, wake up, this is happening. And we're allowing it to happen. So that was, go back. That was Del Rio. And so there was a lot of attention down the Rio Grande Valley, Del Rio, Laredo. I visited all those areas down there in South Texas. I'm originally from El Paso. Let me go see what's going on in El Paso, because it wasn't getting a lot of attention. It's getting it now, right? And so this is Hudspeth County, east of El Paso, right next door, the county right next door. That's the Trump wall that ended. And I was spending some time with my friend Anthony with Border News Network, and we were standing back here. And let me explain something about the wall. Both sides of this wall is the United States of America. This is not Mexico. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand, that I continue to take a lot of candidates, political candidates and Congress people to the border, not for the 5-minute op, to really show them what's going on. And one of the biggest shocks that they have is we pass the wall and they're like, can we do that? We're in Mexico now. No, we're not. No, we're not. And so that alone, just by knowing that, it makes a huge difference, because the wall is not on, the border is in the middle of the Rio Grande River in Texas. That's where the border is at. And most of the land up until the river is owned by private property owners, ranchers. Some public, mostly private. And this is probably the area along the border where the wall is actually the closest to the river. The river is literally yards away, and the brush. It's just have enough for the Border Patrol to travel and be able to patrol on both sides. So we were down there before it got dark, maybe a couple of hours, until finally a Border Patrol agent drives up, and he's like, yeah, we set off the sensors, we know you were there, but there's nobody there. It had been hours before anyone showed up. But we get a lot of information. They love to share what's going on, because no one's listening to them. And there's a lot of activity. This area of Hudspeth County, I'm going to show you because I went back, is Hudspeth County, El Paso is mostly cartel land. It's besides what's going on right now with the people that are turning themselves in at the side of the port of entry in El Paso, the children, it's cartel smuggling, drugs and people. And go ahead, next. And this is how they smuggle them. Think about it, they've done it, the cartels. The back of tractor trailers, you know what happened with the 53, we'll talk about them. Go ahead. The back of trunks, right now, a lot of them wearing camouflage. Why would you wear camouflage? Because you're avoiding detection, right? In the brush, go ahead. Tractor trailers, I worked these cases as an agent. I've seen human bodies placed in places that you cannot imagine in a vehicle. Sewn into a seat. The person inside the seat sewn the leather or fabric over them, sealed in a seat. They don't until they breathe, until they can breathe, with enough whatever oxygen they have. Inside the dashboard, parallel to the dashboard. Because the cartels see humans like this chair. How many of these chairs can I get across the border? How many of these chairs can I stuff in a vehicle? And how many of these chairs can I stuff in a stash house? There is record number of stash houses right now on the border in Texas. I spoke to the chief border patrol agent in Laredo. This was several months ago. 200 stash houses they had identified. Of humans, packed in. Think about this room. This is too nice of a house for them where they put them. But think of it, this room, and what's the capacity, the normal capacity that's set by the fire marshal in here?
104.
104. They would put about 1,500 people in here. How? Like this, stacked up with very little food, very little water. You can't breathe sometimes. And so they have these houses, we used to work, they used to turn a lot, they're starting to turn a lot of them into hostage situations where the people in there, they have cell phones, the cartels then demand additional payment. They already paid their $4,000 or $5,000 to get smuggled, and it's important to understand the difference between smuggling and trafficking. And one of my biggest pet peeve is calling smuggling trafficking. This is not trafficking. This is smuggling. Smuggling is the illegal alien pays for that one-time venture to be brought into the country illegally. It's over, that's it. Trafficking is the exploitation of that person, usually for sexual exploitation, but also for forced labor. I worked a big Chinese case out of New York, forced labor for sweatshops. But mostly sexual exploitation, prostitution, what you hear about, sex trafficking. But there's two different crimes. Does smuggling become trafficking? Absolutely. And what's happening right now is a lot of these individuals don't have the $5,000, $6,000. We'll have $2,000, $3,000. The cartel's like, that's fine, that's okay. But when you get to Wisconsin, you owe me $3,000. And you continue to pay me from Wisconsin, whether you're a day laborer, construction, or selling meth, or selling fentanyl. They don't care. I own you. And it becomes kind of an indentured servitude situation at that point. Go ahead. This is a dump truck. These are human beings underneath that dump truck, and that's gravel on top. This is the great work of Border Patrol agents at a checkpoint in South Texas. They couldn't see the humans. It was all sealed in the gravel on top, but because of their expertise, they noticed something was wrong. They arrest the driver. They take the dump trucks to the Eagle Pass Port of Entry where they have the X-ray machine, and there you go. Rescue these people. Go ahead. We could spend all day showing you pictures, and I would like to show you pictures because it's just going to prove the point of what is actually happening. Smuggling, smuggling, smuggling. It's not just the Fox News that you see, because they're the only ones showing you, are the ones coming in. And that's why we're going to talk some numbers right now. So then you have this case. This is the 53 that died in San Antonio a couple of months ago that suffocated to death. I've worked these cases. I was on the border. I was in Eagle Pass with 150 people coming in. It was a very windy day, and I don't think I uploaded that photo. I'm having an issue with where I put it. And I was filming the 150 people. It was windy and dusty, and I get a phone call that this had just happened in San Antonio, and I say that, and I remember saying that, I think it was like, I said I was 40 people, we didn't know how many people, but immediately I thought, this is a suffocation case. Why they abandoned them, who knows? Somebody got paid and they just locked them in there. They locked the chairs. They locked the chairs. They don't care. Cartel doesn't care. But this is another part of the story that you probably have never heard. 53 died, 16 survived. 11 of the ones that died were hardcore criminals. Now, I don't say that because no one deserves to die that way. But why are the hardcore criminals in there? Because they're avoiding detection to come into this country. Because they're here to commit crimes. And I'll get pushback from the left. They hate that talking point. They don't all come to commit crimes. Of course not. I'm the most logical, reasonable person, I think. I'm a simple man. Of course I know that not everybody comes over and commits crime, but one rape and one murder for me from an illegal alien in this country is too many.
Right. That's right. Amen.
We have a crime surge in this country. Look at Dallas. Let's not go far. Look at Fort Worth, what's happening. And that's what I fight for. Because those families, those angels' moms, those angel dads, the parents that have lost the kids to fentanyl poisoning, who's representing them? Where are their voices? Yes, the children. They're coming with notes, bracelets. This one's coming to Dallas. That's why I took a picture. The address, 2 years old, name, and phone number. Here's the problem that's happening in El Paso. We'll go back quickly to El Paso because El Paso's kind of been a hot spot, and I haven't been able to get there. There's a lot of children coming through there. And what Biden, whatever, same difference.
Same thing.
What they don't want is another Del Rio with the Haitians, remember? Underneath the bridge of 17,000? What did that do? That brought a lot of attention. No, nothing to see here. So what they're doing now is they're moving them. Get them out. Move. Alien comes in, alien move out. Quickly. We don't want to hold them or put them in a facility. One just popped, the beautiful one just popped up in New York. I was listening to it on my way over here. The beautiful, and I'm going to show you some of the ones that I've gone into and I've gotten kicked out. But that's what's happening is they're moving them. But the problem with the children is that they're not. This is all. It's all on purpose. The Biden administration. Remember what they said when they ran? We're going to abolish ICE. We're going to abolish ICE, but they didn't have to take the funds away. You know what they did? They took their authority away. They've taken Border Patrol's authority away. They've taken ICE's authority away, the internal. There's two divisions of ICE. HSI, where I worked, Homeland Security Investigations, and ERO, Enforcement Removal Operations, which is what the one you hear about a lot in the news. These are the ones that process the illegal aliens, do the camps, deport, are looking for the illegals in the interior of the country. They're practically done. I have friends that work there and doing nothing, administrative work. And so there's no one verifying the sponsor that's receiving this child. It's disgusting, it is, man. Because, well, there's your trafficking. Why do we have to avoid it? If no one is checking that apartment in Chicago to see who Joe Blow is, and I tell you why it's a problem, because we've already have encountered sex offenders, registered sex offenders, receiving these kids. So we caught one. What's happening and there's a lot that I want to talk about that I don't want to jump all over the place, but, and I know it'll come up as the presentation goes. So I go to El Paso. This is the Trump wall. This is, I'm standing technically in New Mexico looking at El Paso and Mexico behind me. It's a really unique area. And you can play the video, just go through it really quick. These are
I'm on the New Mexico side
the
now.
ladders that they use. The illegal aliens click on the 30-foot wall.
4 or 5
I saw
illegal
5 of
aliens,
them.
young males, I'd say about early 20s, late teens. If you see right here next to me, these are the ladders that they use to scale the wall and jump water. The ones that we just witnessed right now, they didn't use anything, or in fact, they were helped by individuals on the Mexican side. Literally right in front of us, Border Patrol is now pursuing them, trying to track them down. Here comes horseback.
There was a Border Patrol on horseback. They had the helicopter up, and they couldn't find them. They were Southern Park, New Mexico. It's happening very unique. It's a very poor area. And the last time I went, after this trip, a bunch of mobile homes, crappy old mobile homes, like unlivable homes, and everybody's property. Well, what's going on? Well, the property owners got smart. They leave them there so the aliens can hide into the mobile homes and they get a cut of the money. Everyone's out for the money. We got people getting arrested at the border from all over the country, by the way. We got Crips and Blood members from LA. We've got US citizens from San Antonio, students in Hudspeth County from high school picking up loads, getting paid $700 to take them to a stash house. And I'll show you the 17-year-old that just crashed just a couple of days ago. So I went further into Hudspeth County. This was this summer, and I'm with Hudspeth County Sheriff. Border Patrol doesn't even go down there. This is the levee. We went down to the river in Hudspeth County. Very, very rough terrain. Very different than McAllen and Eagle Pass. Here, you see them wear the camo. It'll take them days to go through the terrain. Then they hit I-10, which is from I-10 to the border is about 16 miles. There's no wall here. It doesn't exist. And then from I-10 to the next highway, 62-180, it's another 10 miles. And we have a lot of them being killed on I-10. Vehicles are going 80, 85 miles an hour. Families are crossing them, boop, they're getting hit and killed. You don't hear about that, ever. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the humane. Oh, the left. The left says that open borders is humane. It's the other way around. It's inhumane what they're doing by allowing this border to be open, by having people killed. I don't blame a lot of the illegals, the criminals, yes. But if I'm from Guatemala, and I'm like, hey, the border's open, why not? I would come too. They're letting me in. But what's happening? The danger that they're facing in the Darien Gap in Mexico is a whole different story. So let me play this for you. We go down there. Oh, by the way, they said, I was just gonna go. No. Here's your vest, here's your long gun, here's your sidearm. That's how dangerous it is.
Thanks to the Hudson County Sheriff for bringing it out here. This is one of the areas that you're gonna see very, very little traffic out. Very little traffic.
We already had eyes on us from the cartel on the Mexican side at that point.
This is basically cartel land, where the activity of not just illegal alien activity, but obviously the drugs, the fentanyl, the meth, the marijuana, coke coming through here. We're in this area. I'm going to show you right by the river, right by the levee. This is not like McAllen, Texas. This is not like the Rio Grande Valley. This is not Del Rio, Texas. This is a very, very different terrain, very rough terrain, out in the desert, and this is cartel land. Right on the other side, right behind me, right here is Mexico, and it's a different game. This has been open for too many years now, and the activity, as I do shoot this video today, 2022, is just.
Hey, can you turn that down a bit?
Yeah, well, that's a little loud.
Turn it down on the thing.
We'll turn it down a little bit. So that's me standing on the Rio Grande River. Where's the water? Well, that's why they drive SUVs full of dope, humans, you name it. I worked those cases, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. The smuggling has never stopped, but never never to what it is now. Because what's the difference? There are no border agents. While I was there, they were following a group of 40. And it was one border agent, one DPS trooper, and one Hudspeth County sheriff surrounding them on the other side of I-10. And they had them in the brush, and you couldn't see them. And they had the vehicles around them just waiting them out until they came out of the brush, until they got tired, or somebody had to get tired and give up. And where's the cavalry? Where are the border agents? Well, they're down in the valley processing, doing hospital watch. A lot of the word travels, and the aliens know, when you get to the border, say that your arm hurts, that this happened, that this hurts. Straight to the hospital. One agent per alien, hospital watch, 8 hours. Takes you off the line.
So is it Homeland Security that makes these rules or lack of them?
Yeah, his name is Alejandro Mayorkas. And we'll talk a little bit more about him. So I'll skip the video. Go ahead. Remember that nightmare? Go ahead.
What do they do with all this?
They're in the U.S. They deported 1,700 of them. Ooh. They say 17,000, but the unofficial number is close to 19,000 that got in. And in one of those airplanes that was, remember, these Asians did not come from Haiti. They were in Central America and South America, some for up to 10 years, and had already been granted asylum from those countries. You can't get asylum from a country and then go through 4 or 5 more countries and then get asylum from them. It doesn't work that way. It's against our own laws that we passed legislatively. And so some of them that they got deported to Haiti. And that was like the worst sentence you could get, right? Because everyone getting back to Colombia or to wherever they came from. No, you're going back to Haiti, and one airplane was attacked by Haitians, and an ICE officer was almost killed. You never heard that in the news, did you?
No.
Did you hear that part? Good. There you go. And so they bit off his ear. They attacked him, they breached the door. The agents were unarmed. Thank God, or else they probably would have taken their guns and shot him down and crashed, whatever. But luckily, no one was killed, and they arrested him and all this stuff. But this is what happened, and most of them are in the country now. So here's another part that's happening at the border is the smuggling, right? And so you have all these people picking up loads to get paid, and then they have the DPS troopers. Then this is the part that I love about Operation Lone Star under Governor Abbott. Operation Lone Star, if you don't know, is a law enforcement operation to try to contain all of this that I'm talking about. If we didn't have Operation Lone Star, a lot of these people would go undetected. And thank goodness for our troopers that are at least stopping some of them. Now, in a lot of instances, it might be redundant because they'll pull them over, they'll get the aliens, and guess who they give the aliens to? Border Patrol. Border Patrol processes them and then lets them in the country. So it was kind of a no good for anything kind of deal. But you also have a lot of criminals that they encountered that are bringing drugs, guns, and criminal activity, and they fail to yield and they don't want to stop. And there's a lot of these videos. 17 illegal aliens in that little car. One died. I didn't put the dead body, the body of the dead. Go ahead. So they'll get an illegal to drive it, they'll get a US citizen to drive it, they'll get anybody to drive that vehicle to get them. In this case, they want to get to San Antonio, which is the big hub to then move to the rest of the country. Here, there are some dead bodies, and this is the reality of what's happening. 24 in that van, 10 died. Go ahead. Go ahead and play this one. This one's just about a month, a little shy of a month ago. And it just shows another bail. They call them bailouts when they try to stop or they crash and they just run and bail out from the car and try to avoid detection. Right now, by the way, the 53 that died in the tractor trailer, all Mexican, all Central American. I was just in Eagle Pass, Texas. I didn't see one Mexican or one Central American the last 2 times that I've been there. Now, what the heck is going on here? Well, right away, I'm like, what's going on? Well, they're turning the Mexicans and Central Americans back. And that word got spread quickly. So why are they in the back of a tractor trailer? Because they can't walk up to Border Patrol, so they're getting smuggled. It doesn't mean they're not coming in anymore. It just means that they're coming in being smuggled, undetected. And it cost them their lives as well. So this time that I go, the same thing. All from Nicaragua, Venezuela, and we'll talk a little bit with the ladies what's going on with Venezuela, Colombia, Cuba, China, Russia, Africa. That's who I saw, and I talked to them. Go ahead. A lot of them coming to the train as well. There in Uvalde, they jump on the train. Some die, some get their legs cut off. By the way, a lot that jump the Trump wall, that 30-foot wall, a lot of them die. A lot of them break their necks, they break their leg, they break their arm when they fall. And then you and I have to pay for that care. Let me see, just play it really quick. This is my friend Anthony at the border. I like this video, he allows me to share it because he goes through this line of illegal aliens just asking them, where are you going, where are you going, where are you going? Mississippi, Houston, North Carolina, every part of the country. Houston, New York, North Carolina, Michigan,
Nancy, you said? Maryland,
Virginia, go ahead, it's everywhere, it's some even Portland, the other part. And so the Biden administration says instead of doing something about the border and at least trying to re-implement some of the prior policies that were working, no, we're gonna build more facilities, pop-up facilities. So there's the big one in the Donna facility that we all heard about in March of 2021 is now triple the size. Then they started popping up, but you didn't hear about those anymore. And so I went to one located south of Laredo, between Laredo and Zapata County, huge one right before it opened. And I walked in. Why? Because I'm an American. I'm probably paying for it too. Well, I was there for about 20 minutes. And then I got kicked out when they realized, who the heck is this guy? What is he doing? They're so secretive about it. They don't want anybody to know. But the aliens could know. Let me tell you, state of the art facilities, nice, but not for our U.S. citizens, not for our homeless, not for our veterans, for anyone that's not from this country. One just popped up in New York that we talked about. So this is what they send. This is the signal they send to the rest of the people. There's no room. Don't worry about it. We're gonna make room for you. So imagine in New York, you know, the problems that are going on with homelessness and all that, and they see this pop-up facility, and the homeless can't go in there. The veterans can't go in there. You have to be illegal to go in there. As a matter of fact, in Catholic Charities, the one that I went to, because I've been back, I tried to go in again, they wouldn't let me, and I tried to pretend that I was trying to get a job with the transporters. So the transporters are these private companies that transport the illegals from Border Patrol custody to Catholic Charities, where they get their things and then they get sent off on a bus or airplane. And I was asking the guy, because he brought in, first of all, I was standing with 4 homeless men in downtown McAllen. It was raining and it was cold. One of them was a veteran. They would not let him in that night. And I'm like, well, what's so charitable about your Catholic? I'm a Catholic. But what's so charitable about Catholic Charities if you don't let these U.S. citizens in? Nope. As a matter of fact, the guy that came out in charge says, you will not let these 4 in. Oh, but just almost as he said that, here comes a group of Haitians, Colombians, and come on in. Excuse me. Make way for them, because they're from another country, and they're illegal, so they have more rights than the ones that are from here. That's why it's upside down and backwards. That's the new one in Eagle Pass, big one in Eagle Pass, Texas right now, because that's where the hub is. And then I always show this one. This is about, I think it was last year. But I had already flown with illegal aliens on an airplane. And I'm like, well, how did they get on if they don't have an ID? No one in this room can get on a commercial plane without an identification. I guarantee it. I tried. But if you're illegal, you can't. And so I got the opportunity because I had already seen it in San Antonio, I had seen it in McAllen, I had seen it in the other airport near there. And so I'm in Del Rio. Del Rio Airport is the size of this room. It's a very small airport. And so I waited purposely to be the last one to go through TSA. And these people are from Uganda, Africa. 48 hours before, they were in Uganda. And 48 hours after, they were with me, standing in front of me in Del Rio, Texas, admitted into this country. And first of all, I'm thinking, why is American Airlines giving them a boarding pass? You will not get a boarding pass from American Airlines if you don't have an ID. They did. So American Airlines, okay, whatever arrangement the government has with them. But I figured TSA, right? You're the Department of Homeland Security, not a TSA fan. So he goes, I play the video. I don't know if it'll show correctly. It's just the way the video plays. But they hand over the yellow envelope, and the TSA agent knows that I'm filming them, and he's fumbling through the paperwork, which is there is no ID, no visa, no passport, nothing, and allows them in. And so when I come up, I said, yeah, what did they show you to get on this airplane? And he got very abrasive. It's like, that's none of your business. Well, no, I think it is. Because I'm flying on that same airplane. You see, I had already talked to them the way I used to talk when I worked as an agent, and they had already offered me the cartel member's number and a discount to bring my family over from Mexico. So I knew they were illegal. I do my homework. And so I was furious. But the more angry I get inside, the calmer and the softer I talk. It's a technique. And so he was getting very agitated. And I'm telling him, why are you so upset? You're the Department of Homeland Security. Have you forgotten 9/11? You're allowing people on this airplane that you have no idea where they're from. So Border Patrol gave them some paperwork, big deal. Where's the identification that they've been vetted? I used to work at embassies. It takes a lot to vet an individual. I've vetted individuals. It takes a long time. It doesn't take an hour. And he says, who are you? I said, I'm an American. I happen to be a retired federal agent, but who cares? So I scan my boarding pass and I keep on walking. He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm going on the plane. He says, you gotta show me your ID. I said, no, I don't. They didn't show you, why should I show you mine? Well, you're not gonna get on this airplane if you don't show me ID. And that's when I kind of lost it a little bit. Well, that's the problem that we have. You're the Department of Homeland Security. This is upside down and backwards. What are you talking about? These people just came from Uganda 48 hours ago, and it wasn't this horrific, oh my God, this treacherous adventure. No, they flew into Mexico City and then flew into Acuna, and then they were there. They had money. This is what's happening. And I've flown with them many, many times. The last time, it was with a bunch of single adult males, all with a child, the age of 2, 3, or 4. Remember, human trafficking is my subject matter expertise. And man, I'm like, they sat me in the middle of all of them. I ended up being the translator, but I got to see all the paperwork. They were given paroles. A parole, an I-94, is a document that I had the authority as a special agent to issue. You could, as a CBP officer at the port of entry, you could issue, and it's very strict as to why you could issue that. I used to issue that usually for someone that was working for me, right? A confidential informant. Or it was an extraneous humanitarian situation. He has one from Guatemala, and he's going to Florida So he has all his story down. Where he's going, where he's staying with his brother, where he's working, he's good. But as soon as I started asking him questions about his daughter, which let me tell you was not his daughter, he didn't know anything. Now, if I'm traveling with my daughter, I have a 22-year-old daughter now, but if I had my daughter at 3 years old and I'm traveling, I am excited for her to come to the United States and go to school and become an American. That's what I would say. But that's not what you hear out of these mouths anymore. He had no idea. He was feeding her Coca-Cola in a bottle at 6 in the morning. First of all, I'm like, I don't remember my daughter drinking out of a bottle at 4. He had no idea how to take care of her. He had no idea where she was going because it wasn't his. 12 of them. Child trafficking under this administration, under our noses, and the inability to do anything about it is very frustrating to me, as you can imagine. And I'm flying from San Antonio, DFW. I connected them. They have no idea. I gave the guy, he said, you better take her. I'm going to see you go feed this child right now. The little girl was hungry. They're going to Wisconsin, Florida, Seattle. My goodness. The same thing in El Paso. Go ahead. So what's happening? This is. We're going to talk a little bit about the cartels because I just finished talking about the other one. You guys didn't get that one, right? We have cartels in Mexico that run Mexico. Mexico is a parallel government now. The president of Mexico is a very unique individual. He's a socialist communist guy. And he just doesn't believe in law and order. He just has ignored the problem. He said he'd rather give them hugs than bullets, and he just sent the military. They had a massacre 2 days ago, 14 people at a bar, and he sent the military down there. And go check it out, see what happened. The cartels control the politicians. They've killed 15 journalists in Mexico. The unofficial number is 30. Journalists. Mexico is the most dangerous country for a journalist to work in. Not the Middle East, not Iraq, not Baghdad, not Syria. Because that's what you think about, right? You think cartels, you think terrorist organizations, you think Middle East. It's right here, attached to us. The terrorists are right there. And I write about it in my book, how they should be designated as such, as foreign terrorist organizations. Governor Abbott, a couple of weeks ago, signed an executive order designating them as such. It's a goodwill. I like it. It's a step in the right direction. What does it do? Nothing. Because it doesn't. What we need it done is at the federal level, and the entity that does it is the State Department. And the State Department just got together. They have this annual thing, and of course, they're not going to do that. Mexico doesn't want to do that. Imagine having ISIS in Mexico, the Taliban, or Al-Qaeda in Mexico. Well, don't imagine anymore, because we do. They just go by different names. They're called Cartel Sinaloa, Cartel Jalisco New Generation, Cartel del Golfo. These guys are not gangs. These are criminal enterprises. I want you to think of the cartels as Amazon. What do you think about Amazon? Money, billions, distribution all over the world. Well, that's them. Money, power, and distribution all over the world. Of fentanyl, killing 110,000 of our Americans. Meth. I just got back, I told you, from South Dakota. They have a huge meth problem in South Dakota. And cartel presence now. They're everywhere in our country. Everywhere, and in 50 countries around the world. But play this. Go ahead. They love propaganda. They love playing these videos. And basically what this guy is saying to the rival gang is like, we're here, we control the town, I have unleashed my dogs. This is the way they patrol the city. Look at how they're dressed. Look at the equipment that they're wearing. 5'11" goggles. I mean, these guys are top notch right here. Highly trained, money. But See, play that one. This is the Sinaloa cartel. This video is not too old. What they're saying in this video is that they're gonna go out murder these two individuals. Can you imagine in this country if a group did this video? Or we had a firefight like the ones they had in Mexico in the middle of the day with 50 calibers and shooting and killing people? Well, we're this far away from that happening. As a matter of fact, we've had a lot of violence attached to the cartels, but you never see that part ever mentioned. In Chicago, in New York, in LA, cartel hits. Oh, it's just another murder. No, it's another murder attached to these guys. Cartel member patrolling. This is a rancher that gave me his picture from his game camp. A cartel member in Texas patrolling. And they tell me, Victor, we have guns in Texas. We can shoot this guy and kill him. But we're not going to get the wrath of the cartel and come and murder all our family. They're afraid in their own land. And of course, all the aliens coming through. This is me. I was just there about 2 weeks ago. Eagle Pass, go ahead. Drownings every day. I talked to them. I interviewed them. One of the biggest problems they had was a Darien Gap, which is South America to Central America, the connection, the jungle. They get robbed and all these things happen to them. Well, you know what they said this time? It was Mexico. Mexico was worse than the Darien Gap. They got robbed, extorted, raped, beaten, jailed. And I said, the cartels? No, the government of Mexico. The corruption. What? Oh. Eagle Pass, Texas. 45 crosses of Jane Does and John Does, of illegal aliens that they couldn't identify because they ran out of room at the morgue. They had to bury them. Who knows who they are? Baby Does as well. Right. I want to take, before we're done, so we could take some questions. Venezuela, as you know, they're being sent back. They made this arrangement, but it's capped at so many per day. Don't think it's 100%. They're capped at so many. Mexico said we can only take so many. They're rioting on the other side. They barricaded one port of entry already. Because how could you? How could you stop us from coming here? Because they feel entitled. That's what they feel. And this is the biggest thing for me is the crime. And I added a bunch of them today. This guy killed a Houston constable. He went to Mexico from Nicaragua, and he was caught. These guys were caught, convicted of lewd and lascivious acts with a child under the age of 14, convicted of assault with a deadly weapon. Sodomy. This guy ran over a 3-year-old little girl, tricycle, in her cul-de-sac. These are all illegal aliens. Terrorist. Go ahead. You know about the first one in Plano? The guy that, this one, killed the Lyft driver and then went and shot up the Plano Police Department? Yeah. He did it because the Taliban won in August of last year. Remember that? The whole debacle? I just put these today. More rollovers, more deaths at the border. Go ahead. Oh, real quick, go back. Brooks County. Talk to I know the sheriff. I came to one event where Sheriff Martinez talked to you guys. And I met him, and man, he's going through, poor sheriff. He's got portable refrigerators as a morgue because he doesn't know what to do with the bodies anymore. Doesn't know how to put them, where to put them. That's how many he's getting over there. And then he's having to deal with these things as well. I just uploaded these as I got here. These are pictures from Bill Mallusion. I met Bill Mallusion while I was down there. That's the Fox reporter. And videos, go ahead, this is today. This is today, this morning. 500 plus. That's a lot of adult males, huh? Go ahead, next one. Again, this morning. The most I've seen at once is 300, and groups of 150 and so. 3 illegal aliens charged with murdering a 20-year-old man in Texas, in El Paso. And I could go on and on. Oh, but they don't come and commit crimes. Go ahead. That's my information. You want to take a picture, but I would love to take your questions because before I want to end, I said I was gonna get a little political because it is matter. You cannot discuss border security and not discuss politics. Yes, we need the declaration of invasion declared yesterday by this governor, and he will not do it. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know who he's listening to. If it's politics, if it's the real, I would think as a conservative American that he knows that he has my vote anyway, and I think he's playing politics because of that. Not sure why. He just won't do it. I was in Arizona a week and a half ago, right after this trip, and met with 26 legislators. Let me tell you, they're gonna declare it on day one. Carrie Lake, when she gets in, we met with her, we met with 26, they're ready to go. And we're helping them with, I work with the America Project, helping them set up so they can be ready to go because it changes things. Now, the National Guard will have the authority to actually do something. Their DPS will actually have the authority to do something. And so that's what we want the state of Texas. Really quick, we had a National Guardsman commit suicide last week. I was there the week before. And when I got the call, the Fox News guy that was there called me and says, we just had a shooting this morning. And sure enough, yeah, he took his own life. That's 5 National Guardsmen that we've lost to life, 1 that drowned. And a lot of Border Patrol agents are taking their own life. It is so stressful down there, it's unimaginable. Questions, because politics do matter. I think that Carrie Lake and Arizona is going to put the pressure on Texas, and hopefully that'll have our governor do it. Yes, sir.
How long do you think it